Good evening.
So
You want to start the podcast?
you get bigger headphones than me.
This is all I have, man. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the very first podcast. I'm not sure what yet I'm going to call it, but it's a work in progress. But in the very first episode, we have my beautiful wife who will be interviewing me, and we'll be talking a bit about why I want to start this particular podcast and this YouTube channel. So over to you.
You said it yourself. Why do you want to start this podcast? That's my
So,
question to you.
okay, so the reason why I want to start this podcast because I feel like there isn't enough Capetonian, South African, whether they are theologians or pastors, doing this type of thing. Yes, when we watch YouTube, normally we find a lot of Americans, people in the UK, the West, but you don't find a lot of. There are, and so you have to give credit to those people who currently or has started channels. But I think there's definitely a space also for Capetonian theologians to have a conversation about the Bible, about theology, about different topics, about different things that we may see differently here in South Africa versus the rest of the world. So, yeah, in general, that's what it's going to be about. And to offer to the rest of the global dialogue on theology, to offer a Kryptonian South African perspective on matters of faith and, yeah, anything that is under that big umbrella. So, yeah.
So it's actually broad. It's not a simple topic. Because
Mm.
theology is broad.
Theology is very broad, and I want to invite a lot of different guests to the podcast, people that I've come across in my life of faith, normal people. It doesn't have to necessarily be also pastors or lecturers, or I want to have them when it comes to really deep theological topics. So I'll perhaps invite lecturers or people that I have studied under, but then also pastors. What do they have to say about certain topics? What are their views? What are their perspectives? And then also, I mean, anybody that considers themselves a Christian that has something to say. You don't necessarily have to be an academic, but if you have an opinion or if you have something that you want to share, then you're welcome to the podcast.
You're basically talking about your passion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. One of the reasons why I decided to go study theology in particular is because I felt like maybe I was a bit late in discovering what I really want to do with my life. And also, one of the reasons why I want to start this podcast is as for me personally, as an outlet of some of the thoughts that's running in my own mind, but also to find answers to questions that I still have today. Even having studied theology, there are still certain um, people that I want to approach to find out a little bit more. So to me, it's going to be for myself an outlet of things that I'm processing personally, but also, um, finding answers to unanswered questions, or answers that have been answered by people, but that has not been satisfactory. If that makes sense, it's not been like answers that you can really say, okay, this is a good answer, this is fine, and I can take this. So yeah.
I want to say something. You're never too old to learn. So you said you feel like you studied late. No, babe, you're never too old to learn. Learning is continuous. And when I look at myself, I was 22 when I first went to go study. Usually, students that finish matric and go straight into university, they're at the age of 18 or 19. But I was 22 when I first started. So I always told myself that no matter the age, learning will be
Mm,
continuous.
mm,
And um, when I look at myself, I still want to continue studying. I still want to learn more, you know. So that's for me again, for my career. But this is your career, and you're basically talking about your career.
mm, mm. No, I agree with you. You never too. It's never too late. You're never too old. And I think for me, I think for you, you knew what you wanted to do. It just took a long time to get there. For me, I only later on in life discovered what I really wanted to do. And even after studying something else entirely already, I still felt the drive and the pull to want to study theology, and which led me to go and study. So yeah, so there's a lot of things in my mind that I feel like cannot be shared in a sermon form when you preaching or when you're teaching in the church, but can better be shared in conversation form.
Mm.
And so for that's also one of the other reasons why I think starting a podcast is ideal, because you get to then have a conversation with people, you get to share, you get to share ideas in a very informal manner that doesn't have to necessarily take the form of a formal sermon expressing your ideas, even though that has its place. But I think in today's world, we're finding more and more podcasts starting, and yeah, I just wanted to be part of that as well. And yeah.
I feel like in life, um, sometimes you feel like what I'm studying is not in line with what I want, or it's not my passion, but God calls you at a certain time,
Mm,
not at your time.
mm,
So I felt like maybe you weren't ready.
mm, mm,
And I feel like now that you're ready, and
mm,
that is why God called you now,
mm, mm, mm.
you know,
Yeah.
to be within His purpose for you
And
in His will. So you're still very young. We still very young. And for us at this age to even mention um, Christ, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
We're still young.
mm, 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 mm,
If you look at um, Moses, Noah, they weren't our age when God called them. They were
mm,
later in their years when
mm,
God called them.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we are still young, but God called you while you're still young,
Mm,
And I feel like um, we can make an impact,
mm.
our generation,
Yeah.
or even younger, we can make an impact.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with you, and it's in God's timing, as you say. And no, I definitely see even this podcast to be a blessing to a lot of people. And yeah, starting here in Cape Town, starting here in South Africa, um, and you know, I never saw myself truly as a content creator. That's not really like, but everybody's. It's not that everybody's doing it, and that's why I want to do it. But it's more about what are we spending more of our time on? Are we creating or are we consuming? Because if we're not careful, we will spend a lot more time consuming stuff, like watching other people live out their dreams rather than creating and kind of living out your own dream. And so for me personally, I think this will be an awesome outlet just to create, to do stuff like this, to talk to people, to do conversations. It's just a good way of creating, and not falling into the trap, because most people consume things. Most people go to YouTube to watch. Most people go to, different channels on TV to watch and to consume. Um, and a lot less people are creating. And I think we need to do a lot more creating, because I think that's when you will really experience a lot more joy in life, because now you're doing something that you love. And if you're doing something that you love, it makes life a little bit more pleasing. It makes life, um, more enjoyable. And yeah, I think a lot of people are not doing what they really love doing. And that is why sometimes they can feel the way they feel. And so, yeah, again, I'm just listing all the different reasons as to why I feel like this is a good idea, and just to see where it's going to take us or take me.
I'm here to support you, babes.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
And all the best for your podcast. I just hope you'll make time for me as well.
Of course, babes. Of
You
course.
make time for us as a family. But I'm here to support you.
Okay, listen.
And
Thank you very much.
you want to share? Because I don't know if I'm going to be up again. You might just want to introduce someone else. So
Yeah,
our testimony. I want to share our testimony.
yeah, definitely. We can keep the testimony for another episode, definitely. Um, but as an introduction, this is just a kind of introduction. I just wanted to kind of just give a little bit of a background, and then we can dig a bit deeper, maybe in the next, maybe in the second, maybe in the third. But I'm definitely I want to have a lot of different guests on. Some of the guests will be where they have to join me online, unfortunately. Others I'll invite. They can sit down like we're sitting down now and just have a conversation. But yeah, this is basically just a baseline in terms of what I wanted to do. Awesome. So yeah.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it. Thank you very much for watching the first. And if you like this, please consider subscribing to my channel, and also liking and commenting and asking any question that you would like in the comment sections below. But yeah, without further ado, God bless. Until next time.